in a hijab, often are they
I
wrong?
think mostly people assume that I'm a very conservative woman, and this has been forced on me.
Life counts beginnings.
Welcome to Studio 50 Plus.
Today's guest proudly wears the hijab, is an Islamic Studies Management enabler, and spent years working in the corporate world, and is happily married to a husband younger than her. At 50 plus, she represents something we don't often hear enough about. An ordinary woman living her faith with confidence, warmth, and balance. Welcome, Rubina.
Hi, Monica.
When people see you in a hijab, what do you think they assume about you? And how often are they wrong?
I think mostly people assume that I'm a very conservative woman, and this has been forced on me. But this is wrong all the times. Because this has been my choice. It has never been forced. And this is something that identifies me now. And I'm more than happy to wear it. I can't imagine my life without it. And conservative, absolutely no, again.
So is this what you think would surprise people most about Rubina?
So I'm interested in, like I love to read about psychology. I love to read about astrophysics. So I think when they see somebody in a hijab, I don't think they would relate these subjects to that. But yes, my interests may be, something that would surprise
I don't want to sound biased, but of course what happens is when anyone is in a pallu, a hijab, or anything which is considered as tradition conservative, we always tend to think that literacy is not something which is inbuilt or appreciated in that kind of gear or dressing. But of course I've known you and I know the level of in-depth, not just intellectual awakening that you have in you, but even the curiosity that you have in you, which is something which is very, very amazing.
Is that I feel and I have seen that as we get more educated and as we get more literal, we somewhere keep our culture behind. Cultural beliefs and religious beliefs, we tend to let go of them. And there is never a partnership between the two. So like you could have a very educated Muslim woman but not wearing the hijab, right? So then that becomes her identity. And then you have an uneducated Muslim woman who's wearing the hijab. So they feel, only uneducated women wear the hijab, right? So this is a label then which comes upon people. It's very sad, and I think it has happened across societies that we have diluted our culture and our religious beliefs. We have moved ahead in education and literacy and career paths.
Women who are in very high positions wear the bindi. Now the bindi is considered something only traditionally somebody would sport it. But it's somebody's culture, even somebody like me also. I like wearing a bindi, especially when I'm wearing an Indian outfit. So why not?
So it is what we impose on ourselves. Just one line. So if you're confident, if you believe in it, you do it. The world will accept you finally. But if your belief is shaky, then it is not going ahead.
So you worked for 8 years with Vodafone in the corporate world. So how has this journey from a corporate world to a homemaker now, I would say, largely, how has this journey been?
It's been good. The transition was not scary for me because I was mentally prepared. I left my job just 13 days before I got married. So because I was mentally prepared and I was ready to adjust and sacrifice and go with the flow basically. So it was not very difficult for me. I didn't miss my job, honestly. In fact, I thought my life got tougher being a homemaker.
What is the biggest misconception that people have about Muslim women?
So the Muslim women are usually looked upon as oppressed and battered. This is the widest opinion that people have. Now, this could be because most of them value a certain lifestyle and they articulate their life choices around their religious beliefs and values, which may not be a social norm. For example, wearing the hijab is not a social norm, and you see it in rural areas, like even in Hindu communities, you have women covering their head. So that is now tagged as this is rural, this is outdated. All right. So that's how then when they look at you, they feel you're backward. You know. So that connection of what you wear or how you present yourself to a certain class of the society, this is what has to change. You know, and like the head covering especially, I have been a victim of it all the time. Like, I know people who have questioned me directly, why do you wear it? And it's not out of curiosity to know. It is just like, why do you have to wear it? You know?
I remember a conversation when we were surrounded by 4 or 5 of us, and one of our friends had asked you, and though she had apologized to begin with, she said, I just want to know that why are you wearing the hijab, right? And you bat an eyelid, and you were like very confident in answering that. And also I thought that you were very proud of the fact that you wore the hijab with dignity and with a full self-belief in what you are
so
doing.
again, the belief, if you believe in it, you have the capacity to make others believe in it too. You know, and again, you know, how does a question come? Is it out of interest to know? Is it just like something to belittle you and, you know, just get you down? It happens. I have faced it from time to time, and I have no hang-ups from those people, you know, because that's the belief system they have grown up with. They have not been taught acceptance or anything, you know. So that is something that is a very, very wide misconception about consumerism. And to tell you something, Monica, this head covering, it is not just limited, you know, if you look at history, this was always a part of the female attire. You look at medieval European history, you look at the Christians, you look at Jews, you look at your Indian history, the Marathas, the Rajputs, you know, the Mauryas. All the women covered their head at that time. In fact, even the men covered, because that was considered respect, position, however, you know. So that was always there in our culture. Then it went away with the Western influence and, you know, things like that, industrialization and things like that. And then it was completely off the map. Then people started adopting it again. So then when something goes away and comes back again, then there's very low tolerance to it. You know, because you're like, where did this come from? You know, why are you wearing it? Like when I started wearing it, I had people question me, because I started it later in life. It was not that I came from a family where everyone wore it, no. So people question me, why do you want to wear it now? You have such beautiful hair, why do you want to wear it? Why do you want to cover it? Like I still have people asking me those questions, you know. So it is like, no, it is a spiritual thing for me, and it's my identity now.
So as you said, spiritual. Now I know that you know, don't take this as a personal question, but being religious. Now, do you think religion, being very religious and being open-minded, can coexist with each other?
Yes. Now it depends how you define these two words. Okay. So I'll give you a very small example. I have a deeply religious father, okay, but he wants his child to choose a career as per his choice. That's being religious and close-minded. But I have a deeply religious father who then goes ahead and gives the freedom to his child to choose the career he wants. That's being religious and open-minded. So now it lies in your definition how you want to do it. Like, if you feel that, like me, for my beliefs, I don't believe in going to a pub or a restaurant for socializing. If you call that closed-mindedness, so be it. You know, but that's my.
No, I think that's a personal choice.
No. Monica, there are people who feel, But that's been so backward because that's the social norm.
No.
Because we don't identify that you can have fun, you can have a night out fun even without going to a resto bar or a pub. That's become a standard. So now when you deviate from the standard is when
You get kind of, secluded from the society.
isolated and questioned that why. So this is how it is. So yes, you can be religious and open-minded. It's very much possible.
So when you're practicing faith on, let's say, a Tuesday morning, what does it look like?
So we start with our early morning Fajr prayers that happens before sunrise. Dawn. And then we have a few supplications to read, which is not obligatory, but it is just gratitude to God and forgiveness and protection. So that's how you start your day.
So what's your next verse? It's a rapid fire question series, which again will be a part of Studio 50 Plus. So one word or short answers? One habit you wish everyone practiced?
Cleanliness.
One stereotype about Muslim women you would love to erase?
That they're backward.
A verse or thought that gives you strength?
A thought that every struggle that you had in your life shaped the person that you are today. So be thankful for those hard times because they've only made you stronger.
Tea or coffee?
Masala chai and cold coffee.
Oh my God. One place you still want to visit?
Norway.
Amazing. Especially when you come to the Northern Lights.
Yes, that's exactly why I want to go there. Yeah.
One fear that you've outgrown?
Fear of being underwater. So I always had the fear for water. Generally.
Is that what you mean by with a pun intended?
No. Just generally, the fear of water. But when I learned swimming as a child, I got over it. But then underwater, like when you see underwater videos in the ocean. But yeah, then 3-4 years back we went scuba diving, so I got over that.
Happiness or success?
Happiness.
What are you learning for the first time after 50?
That you don't have to explain yourself. The ones who love you don't need it. And
So to make this segment even more interesting, I always ask the previous guest to leave a question for the next guest. So it is going to be a surprise for me too because it was written in this diary which I hold here, and I'm going to open it up for you. So the question is, it's very cute. What is that one thing your mother should have told you?
forgot to
When
tell
you-
us that you must also say no. Sometimes, things that are going against your personality, things that are not in your agenda, you must say no. That is something she forgot. Because it just saves you of a lot of struggle in future, when you meet different people, you get married, So this is something I'm teaching my daughter now.
Conversation basically has been about reflections about the experiences we've had in life. So I would like to end this conversation with one very important question. If a young girl or even a woman in her 50s were watching you today and wondering how to stay true to herself in a world full of opinions, what would you tell her?
Just believe in your beliefs. Get that clarity first. Then nothing else matters. Whatever opinions come your way, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. You got to remember, there is a quote that I have read many times that you're not a Nutella jar, you can't keep everybody happy.
Learn because age counts birthdays. Life counts beginnings.
Welcome to Studio